Welcome, everyone, to the Party Animal Podcast, episode number 4, Social Media and Anxiety. I'm Thomas, and I'm really excited to be tackling this discussion today. It really touches on the complexities of modern life, It's kind of unavoidable, whether you realize it or not.
And I'm Luna, and yeah, we often talk about having a great time, right? But we understand that truly enjoying yourself means needing good mental health, a clear head. Today, we're going to look very closely at the complex, sometimes really uncomfortable relationship between our online activities and our genuine mental well-being, especially how it plays out with social gatherings and, well, party culture.
Yeah, it is deeply complicated. Social media platforms, they promise connection. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
But what they often deliver in reality is just this crushing comparison. The information we looked at for this conversation, it really highlights both the massive psychological risks involved.
Huge risks.
Right. But thankfully, it also offers a clear path toward what we might call authentic living, which, ultimately, that's the goal for all of us, isn't it?
That's right. Our core mission today is really to unpack how social media, especially when it mixes with social settings, party settings, how it shifts from being this potential tool for connection, maybe even inspiration.
Which it can be.
It can be, yes, but how it becomes a genuine and very effective trigger for comparison, for self-doubt, and honestly, for intense anxiety for so many people. It's that friction point we really need to get into.
Precisely. So for you listening right now, here's the big question to keep in mind as we go through this analysis. Why is it that the perfect, polished lives we constantly see online make us feel, inadequate? And what happens when that dynamic, that feeling of inadequacy just collides head-on with real-world stuff like parties, events, It is a massive, and I mean massive, source of stress.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to really ground this conversation, make it relatable, we wanted to start with a very personal account. It really illustrates this transformation, doesn't it? Going from just innocent, kind of mindless entertainment to a genuine, full-blown state of anxiety. We have the story of a young woman named Isabella from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, Isabella's experience feels so universal, which is why it's such a good starting point. The material we saw described her as being deeply immersed in scrolling. And frankly, I think anyone listening can probably admit they've been there, right? Spending hours just passively going through feeds, comparing her own everyday life to what was called the curated perfection of others online.
And what's really crucial here, Thomas, is that the shift wasn't sudden. It wasn't like one bad day. It was gradual. What started for her is just, innocent entertainment, something to pass the time, maybe see what friends were up to.
Yeah, totally normal stuff.
Totally normal. It subtly transformed into this constant kind of low-grade source of anxiety and self-doubt. She really started to internalize the weight of comparing herself all the time and this huge artificial pressure to present this perfect version of herself online, a version she couldn't actually live up to. Nobody could.
Right. And then comes the trigger event.
Yeah.
It happens all the time in the digital world. Isabella apparently stumbled across a popular social media influencer's profile. And this profile, like so many you see, it just showcased a life that seemed completely devoid of imperfections.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking expensive travel, glamorous outfits, constant luxury, adventure, and what looked like this endless, seamless, just unattainable happiness.
And the emotional impact on her was instantaneous and incredibly powerful. She couldn't help but feel this, creeping sense of inadequacy just filtering into her thoughts. The research mentions she found herself genuinely wondering, and this is the core of the mental health issue, right? Why her own life, with its normal ups and downs, its messy bits, real life, why didn't it measure up to these polished, glamorous images she was seeing? This is her reality, her unfiltered reality, being compared to someone else's meticulously edited highlight reel. And that contrast, that gap, is incredibly damaging to your psyche.
It's the sheer contrast, isn't it, that just destroys your equilibrium. And the research we looked at highlights that this isn't just like a simple feeling. There's a real neurochemical thing happening. Your brain loves that quick dopamine hit from scrolling or getting a like.
Oh, yeah. It's addictive.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then it's immediately followed by the cortisol spike, the stress hormone, when we see something that triggers jealousy or inadequacy, like Isabella felt with that influencer.
Yeah.
It becomes this self-reinforcing, really toxic loop. You keep going back for the hit, but you keep getting stressed out by the comparison.
That is absolutely correct. And as time went on, Isabella's anxiety started to show up in specific, measurable ways. It wasn't just vague worry anymore. It became this nagging voice of self-criticism, which the info described as being almost always present, like a constant background noise. And of course, the ever-present fear of missing out, FOMO, That was definitely a major consuming factor for her.
It went even deeper than just general anxiety, too. She
Yeah.
started obsessing over the metrics, the numbers.
Oh, the numbers game.
Right.
Yeah.
She was hyper-focused on the likes, the comments, the followers she was getting, or maybe more importantly, the ones she wasn't getting.
Yeah. And the info points out that the fear of judgment from this huge kind of abstract online audience became an ever-present shadow in her life. This constant need to present herself in the absolute best light possible, to perform perfection. It just consumed so much of her mental energy,
Yeah.
leaving very little room for genuine self-acceptance or even just simple, relaxed, real-world connections. She was too busy curating.
And that is the absolute tragedy of it, isn't it? When that relentless chase for virtual validation actively damages your ability to form real, tangible, satisfying human connections.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Isabella reached what was called an epiphany. And this is the crucial aha moment for anyone listening who feels that same pressure.
Yes. While she was reflecting on her escalating anxiety, she realized that social media had basically become, in her mind, a distorted mirror. It was reflecting only a tiny, manipulated piece of reality. She acknowledged finally that the images and stories shared online weren't just spontaneous moments. They were carefully curated.
Mm-hmm. Planned out.
Exactly. They highlighted only the absolute best moments, the highlights, and actively hid the struggles, the challenges, the vulnerabilities that everyone, including those glossy influencers, actually experiences.
And that realization that the feed isn't the whole story, that it's just the edited trailer, not the actual movie that's the turning point for real change. It's understanding the sheer work involved in keeping up that facade of perfection. So with this new awareness, Isabella made a conscious and probably really difficult decision to break free from this painful cycle of comparison and anxiety.
She did. And that brings us to the next phase of her journey, which is all about action. And, critically, prioritizing authenticity, finding what's real for her. She took clear steps to redefine her relationship with these platforms, starting with a really powerful internal shift.
Yeah.
Understanding that her personal worth, her true value as a person, was absolutely, unequivocally not determined by virtual validation, by likes and comments. That is a huge mental hurdle to clear in our society today.
It really is. We are constantly conditioned, almost from childhood now, to look for that external validation. She had to deliberately flip that script inside her own head. So what were the practical steps she took to support this new, healthier mindset and prioritize her mental well-being? What did the information say?
Well, the foundation was setting boundaries, practical boundaries. And the material we reviewed specifies this meant introducing friction, making it harder to just fall into the scroll hole. It wasn't just vague advice like spend less time. She started setting specific time slots for activities that specifically brought her joy and fulfillment offline. This meant intentionally placing barriers between herself and her phone. Maybe moving the app off the home screen, or even deciding to only check it through a web browser instead of the super easy app interface. Little things that add friction.
That friction point is key, isn't it? Making it slightly harder to access breaks that compulsive reflex, that muscle memory of just clicking the app.
Exactly. And more broadly, she prioritized cultivating genuine connections, fostering relationships that truly nourished her soul instead of just seeking superficial interactions or chasing those vanity metrics online. The information mentions she shifted focus to activities that provided deep fulfillment, whether that was volunteer work or physical hobbies, or just spending uninterrupted quality time with one or two close friends. Real connection.
I really appreciate that phrase. Fostering relationships that nourished her soul. It implies a depth and a purpose that, a single like button just cannot replicate, can it?
Not at all.
So slowly but surely, it sounds like she started to rebuild her core self-esteem and truly embrace her own unique journey, free from that constant pressure of the digital facade she was trying and failing to maintain.
And as she transformed her mindset, she found she wasn't alone. She actively sought out and kind of gravitated towards a community of like-minded people who specifically championed authenticity and vulnerability in their own lives. And together, they formed this supportive network, encouraging each other to embrace their true selves, flaws and all.
That sounds amazing.
It's about finding your real supportive tribe rather than trying to please this vast, often judgmental digital audience.
That's a beautiful outcome. And what happened to her view of social media itself? Did she just quit entirely, go dark?
No, she didn't abandon it completely. Over time, her perspective just shifted completely. She started recognizing the platform's potential for genuine inspiration, for focused education, and for maintaining meaningful connections. But And this is the fundamental difference only when it was used consciously and with intention, not just passively scrolling. Right.
Being deliberate about it.
Exactly. She actually became an advocate for promoting mental health awareness online, encouraging others to prioritize real self-care and to always try and look beyond those glossy, idealized highlight reels you see everywhere.
So her story really serves as a powerful reminder that social media is truly just a tool, right? And like any powerful tool, it can be incredibly beneficial for connection, for creativity.
Absolutely.
But it absolutely carries this significant, well-documented risk of triggering anxiety and deep self-doubt if we are not extremely careful and intentional about how we use it.
That is exactly right. And now we need to take this general anxiety, this immense pressure of comparison, and apply it to a very specific, often high-risk environment, the intersection of social media and partying culture. This is where expectations, particularly around performance and looking perfect, often become the most damaging, the most unrealistic.
Okay, let's unpack this transition. Because you're right, that pressure to perform doesn't just apply to, like, careers or how you look. It applies intensely to having the best time, too. Showing everyone how much fun you're having.
Oh, absolutely.
What does the research say about how social media specifically amps up the risks associated with parties and social activities?
Well, the information we reviewed clearly details that social media platforms often present this highly idealized and critically a highly curated version of parties and social events. We are constantly seeing feeds showcasing these extravagant events, incredibly glamorous settings, and those seemingly perfect experiences that are just totally disconnected from most people's reality.
Right, like music videos sometimes.
Exactly. And this, right off the bat, creates incredibly unrealistic expectations for what a social gathering should look like or feel like.
And that pressure then, to live up to that idealized standard, I imagine that can push people into making choices they might not otherwise make, just to get that perfect photo or maintain that appearance.
Precisely. That profound pressure to perform, to look like you're having the time of your life, can lead people to engage in, say, excessive drinking, or maybe overspending drastically to keep up appearances.
Trying to match the vibe.
Yeah, or engaging in behaviors that are explicitly risky, all in a desperate attempt to emulate what they perceive as the perfect party shown in their feeds. It is, quite literally, performance anxiety applied directly to your weekend plans.
Right. And then you get caught in that inescapable comparison and FOMO feedback loop, which seems to be the central negative engine of social media anxiety in these party contexts.
It truly is the engine of stress here. Party-related posts create this immediate sense of comparison, right? And pressure to be doing similar things. It constantly fuels that fear of missing out. The psychological thing here is related to what's called the availability heuristic. We see dozens of amazing-looking parties online, and our brain gets tricked into believing everyone is doing this all the time.
Yeah, like you're the only one missing out.
Exactly. And therefore, you must be missing out significantly, even if it's not true.
And the constant exposure to this curated fun, especially when you can't attend or participate in something specific. Maybe you weren't invited or you're busy. That can evoke really profound feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, or genuine anxiety, directly impacting your well-being. It becomes this vicious cycle.
It does. And that feeling of inadequacy forces people into this perpetual state of projecting an exciting lifestyle, even if they aren't actually enjoying the activity itself that much.
Right, it's about the post later.
It's about the post. That pressure to project an exciting and perfect partying lifestyle, as the material points out, severely impacts mental well-being. It diminishes self-esteem, and it just erodes overall happiness. It is quite simply mentally exhausting to keep that performance up.
Beyond just general comparison, the info also flagged the effect on self-esteem, specifically in social contexts. Like platforms foster this intense culture of visual comparison, where people compare their party experiences, their perceived social connections, maybe even just their physical appearance in photos to what others are posting.
This can absolutely lead to feelings of intense jealousy, a diminished sense of self-worth, and it further perpetuates what the research defines as an unhealthy, competitive, and often dangerous partying mindset.
Yeah.
We are comparing our own average or maybe even awkward moments to everyone else's carefully engineered peak performance photo. It's not a fair fight.
Not at all. We also need to talk about the way social media normalizes certain potentially harmful behaviors, specifically the perpetuation and sometimes even glorification of substance use culture in these party scenarios.
Yes, this is a really serious and quantifiable risk. Social media platforms can contribute significantly to normalizing substance use during parties. People frequently share and, yeah, sometimes glorify substance-related experiences, maybe unintentionally, maybe intentionally, potentially influencing their friends or followers to do the same.
Making it seem normal or even cool.
Exactly. It makes excessive consumption seem like a necessary or even desirable part of having a good time, like you need it to fit in or have fun.
And beyond just what your friends are sharing, the commercial side of this is a powerful influence too, right? The advertising and promotion that fuels some of these idealized events.
Absolutely. The research points out that when parties are sponsored by major alcohol or beverage companies,
Which happens a lot.
and that's coupled with influencers or celebrities promoting substance use, often implicitly, just by holding the product or being at the branded event, this creates a highly structured environment where excessive consumption is, frankly, encouraged and even subtly rewarded.
Yeah.
That structured encouragement can lead directly to harmful, not just risky behaviors, especially among younger users whose, cognitive guardrails, their decision-making skills are still developing.
Okay, so we've covered the mental health side, the comparison, the FOMO, the pressure, pretty extensively. But let's move on to the more tangible long-term consequences, the stuff that lives outside your head. Specifically, the exposure of risky behaviors and the potential for lasting reputational harm. Because once that moment of poor judgment is online, it is effectively out there forever.
That's right. The concept of unintended public exposure is a catastrophic risk when party-related photos or videos get shared. Individuals may unintentionally expose themselves to a vastly wider and much more permanent audience than they ever intended.
Yeah.
And this often includes future employers, professional organizations, maybe family members who weren't supposed to see it, or even total strangers doing background checks years later.
Which is a terrifying thought when you realize how quickly a single moment of bad judgment can spread online and be screenshotted, saved, aggregated.
Exactly.
The material emphasizes that inappropriate or compromising content shared during parties can severely damage someone's reputation and lead to really long-lasting effects on personal relationships, academic standing, professional opportunities. This is a permanent digital footprint created in maybe a fleeting moment of trying to look cool or have fun.
And this brings up the specific dangers of cyberbullying and organized shaming campaigns, especially when party content is maybe taken out of context or even manipulated. The loss of control is total then.
That's a powerful point, that lack of control.
Social media can very quickly become a platform for cyberbullying and targeted shaming, and party-related content. It's frequently used as immediate ammunition. This content can be shared, edited, maybe manipulated by malicious people specifically to target and humiliate individuals, leading to significant emotional distress and often profound psychological harm. The loss of control over your own image and your own story can be devastating, and it lasts.
And speaking of loss of control, we absolutely need to address the very concrete issues of privacy, physical security, and cyber threats that come with sharing party details in real time.
This is an area where people truly need to exercise extreme caution. Yet they rarely do, right? Often fueled by that desire for immediate validation, that quick "look where I am" post.
Yeah, the FOMO works both ways. You want to show you're not missing out.
Exactly. Let's start with the severe invasion of privacy through features like geotagging. Posting party-related content on social media with geotagging features, which many platforms default to on, can inadvertently disclose your precise location, your real-time whereabouts.
And that disclosure compromises personal safety and privacy in a way that people often don't fully grasp in the moment of posting, do they?
Yeah.
They're thinking about the likes, not the liability.
Exactly. They're not thinking about the risk assessment. Sharing location details on these platforms makes individuals significantly more vulnerable to potential predators, or, in a less dramatic but maybe equally serious sense, to what security experts call crimes of opportunity.
How so?
Well, if you geotag your location at a party miles away from your home, while maybe simultaneously showing off expensive items you're wearing, or just indicating implicitly that your house is empty,
No, right.
you are basically giving criminals a precise real-time map of both where you are and, crucially, where you aren't.
That highlights a systemic danger that goes way beyond just simple unwanted attention online. It's about how that aggregated metadata can lead to actual physical threats.
Precisely. And then there's the universal issue of unauthorized sharing. You might be super careful with your own content, right? Meticulously check your settings, think before you post.
Yeah.
But your friend might not be. They might snap a picture of you, maybe doing something silly or embarrassing, and post it without thinking. And once they post it, your careful privacy barriers are basically meaningless.
That's true. You're relying on everyone else's judgment, too.
Exactly. When party-related content is shared without your explicit consent, say, a friend posts a picture of you maybe engaging in a risky behavior without asking you, completely lose control over your personal information. You face potential privacy violations that are totally outside of your management. This loss of control is a major, often unspoken source of anxiety for many users, because you are dependent on the privacy settings and the judgment of everyone in your digital orbit.
Okay. Wow. We've covered a lot of ground, a lot of potential pitfalls here. So before we wrap up this really detailed discussion, let's try to distill all this insight into some really clear, actionable advice. How can our listeners start mitigating these severe risks? How can they find a healthier balance, drawing from the powerful lessons like Isabella's story and the examples we've talked about today?
Okay. Well, the foundation of all mitigation, really, is developing a healthy, critical perspective. It is absolutely critical for you, the listener, to internalize the fact that social media is and always will be a curated highlight reel. It does not and it cannot reflect the full reality of party experiences or life in general. That mental reframing, that constant reminder to yourself, that's always step one.
Okay, internalize the highlight reel concept.
Yeah.
And step two is translating that mental framing into practical, maybe even technical action. We need concrete things people can do today that go beyond just saying, be careful.
Absolutely. First, implement technical friction. We talked about this with Isabella. The information suggests specific techniques, like maybe removing the social media app from your phone's home screen. Make it harder to find.
Yeah, bury it in a folder.
Right. Or set app time limits using your phone's built-in features. Or only allow yourself to check the feed at specific designated times, like, okay, once in the morning, once at night, and that's it. You have to establish personal limits on your usage. Actively manage it.
Right. If you know constant exposure to party stuff negatively affects you or triggers bad FOMO, then you need that physical, technical barrier to limit your exposure. Make it a conscious choice, not a reflex.
Second, actively foster real connections. Prioritize building genuine face-to-face relationships and connections offline. Rather than seeking validation solely through anonymous or superficial online interactions, remember Isabella's journey, prioritizing relationships that truly nourished her soul.
That's a critical alignment. Focus on the real over the virtual.
Third, be mindful of your own values and your safety. Stay true to your personal values and priorities when you attend parties or social events. You must not feel pressured to engage in activities that go against your personal boundaries or beliefs simply because you saw someone else doing it online.
Don't let the feed dictate your choices.
Exactly. And regarding safety, be highly conscious of geotagging settings, turn them off if possible, or be very selective. And always obtain consent before sharing photos or videos of anyone else. Just ask. It takes 2 seconds.
And finally, maybe promote responsible content ourselves.
Yes. We can collectively encourage positive and safe partying behavior by choosing to share those kinds of positive, safe experiences on social media, and consciously discouraging content that overly promotes excessive drinking, drug usage, or anything overtly risky or compromising. Be part of the solution, not the problem.
That's a powerful and comprehensive set of steps, actually. Moving from the psychological shift all the way down to the technical implementation and community aspect.
Yeah. This entire discussion, I think, reinforces one central idea we found across the research we analyzed. It's that social media can be both a powerful lifeline for connection, for support, and a severe trigger for anxiety, for comparison. The platform itself is essentially neutral, right? It's code. It's how we use it, how often we use it, and how we choose to perceive the content that ultimately determines the outcome for our mental health.
And the ultimate choice, then. The one that makes the critical difference in your actual, real life, not your online life, is authenticity. Choosing to live your life genuinely, regardless of what the virtual world tells you your life should look like. And having the resilience, the inner strength, to resist that constant external pressure.
That is a fantastic note to end on. We've covered a lot today, haven't we? From the personal anxieties of comparison and self-doubt, using Isabella's really powerful story as our anchor, to the very specific security risks, the psychological pressures, the reputational dangers tied directly to sharing content from parties and social gatherings. It all seems to come down to successfully managing that digital facade versus prioritizing and actually living an authentic life.
Right. The key takeaway, everyone, is that you hold the power to redefine your relationship with the digital world. It's not controlling you unless you let it. And on that note, we really love to know what specific steps maybe you've already taken to find that necessary balance in your own life.
Yes, please. So we explicitly ask you, our listeners, to share your opinions and experiences in the comments section below. What specific technical boundaries have maybe worked for you? What's been your biggest digital struggle in social contexts? We really do read all of your comments, and we want to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Party Animal Podcast. Make sure to check back in for future episodes, and please click that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to help this podcast bring more awareness to others while enjoying an amazing time, minus the pitfalls.
Be safe out there.